Would you want him as your teammate?
I would say I wouldn't mind. Obviously, he did some things that you wouldn't feel too comfortable with. Seeing the video of him conducting himself the way that he conducted himself, especially some of the words that he used, some would find highly offensive. The issue at hand, however, is that particularly with his use, of the N-word and some of the things that he said, whereas obviously most African Americans would have a problem with it, there were clearly a lot of them inside the Miami Dolphins organization and on that roster in that locker room that didn't have that problem with it.
Or maybe they were afraid to have a problem with it.
Maybe, but I don't think everybody was. I mean, it's one of those things. If you're going to bring it on that level, let me just say something to you, Skip Bayless, educate you just a little bit about the brothers. Mm-hmm. You might have one that would be fearful, but it ain't going to be a bunch of brothers together that's going to be fearful. No. Not of this one dude. That ain't going to happen. They clearly, whereas they should have had a problem with it, clearly some of them did not. And so when you look at that, listen, America's the land of second chances. I was uncomfortable with some of the things that Incognito said. I was uncomfortable with some of the ways that he acted. I was also uncomfortable with the way Jonathan Martin handled it. And I've been on the record saying that. But in the end, he's been out of the game. He was on paid leave. We understand that. But he's been away from the game. And now when you talk about the possibility of him coming back, who would he be coming back to? That would happen to be Lovie Smith, if indeed the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were able to acquire him. Well, Lovie Smith, he's no nonsense, relatively mild-mannered. But Lovie Smith is willing to acknowledge that he's willing to give you a second opportunity and to operate with, relatively speaking, with a clean slate. And we can't throw everybody to the wolves, and we can't deny everybody an opportunity to work again in their respective careers. The man didn't commit murder or anything like that. He didn't commit a crime. His behavior was reprehensible. He was called on the carpet for it. He was unceremoniously embarrassed and humiliated by it and ultimately suffered to some degree. I think that it's fair to give him an opportunity to play the game that he's earned the right to play. That doesn't mean that we forget how he conducted himself, that we forget how he acted, but America is the land of second chances, especially for somebody that isn't a criminal. And that's not to say he hasn't done things that, didn't bring into question whether he should be in the NFL or whatever the case may be. But at this moment in time, that's not the situation involving him, and I definitely think that he deserves a second chance.
How about a fifth or a sixth chance?
Oh, boy.
No. I wouldn't say that.
Okay, well, if I look at this resume, it seems like we're on about 5 or 6 at this point.
But, all right.
I would not want this man in my locker room. I would not want him to be my teammate. I'm not going to condemn Lovie Smith if he wants to go this direction, but I'm a little embarrassed for him that he wants to go this direction. Clearly, they are desperate with both of their offensive guards. Mm-hmm. Clearly, they are on the verge of being a pretty to very good football team. They have a chance to win that division this year. We all know they brought in Josh McCown, and all of a sudden, with the defense in place, you say, well, you're close, but your guards are awful, and they're getting annihilated in preseason games. Mm-hmm. And you look at Richie Incognito just 2 years ago, made the Pro Bowl, and you say, well, should we dance with the devil or not? Mm-hmm. Roger Goodell at the Hall of Fame game. I'm not going to say he raved about Richie Incognito, but he said some nice things about him. He said we put him through our programs that we had him undergo, and he's been a model citizen in our programs. But I'm here to submit to you, Richie Incognito has a history of being a con artist with adults, with authority figures, fooling people.
Explain that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to college. They gave him chance after chance at the University of Nebraska, where he was a very good player. Mm-hmm. And after repeated violations of their conduct code and breaking team rules, they finally just said that's enough. And he left and he went to the University of Oregon. How long did he last there, Mr. Smith? 1 week. 1 week at the University of Oregon.
Right.
And it was reported that he was to undergo an anger management course and adhere to a strict code of conduct. And apparently in 1 week, those things did not happen.
Okay.
So he gets drafted in the 3rd round, pretty high by the St. Louis Rams. Did okay for a couple of years, and then in 2009, He was benched twice during games for losing his composure, screaming at referees, headbutting other players, and finally had a heated exchange with then head coach Steve Spagnuolo on the sideline. Remember that?
Yep.
2009.
I do remember that.
And on December the 14th, with 3 weeks left in the season, they said, that's enough, you are out of here, and they cut him. Buffalo signed him for 3 games, and then they said thanks, but no thanks, and they did not retain him. So finally, he winds up with the Rams. And in 2012, as I've just pointed out, he made the Pro Bowl. And that year, he also, in the offseason, went through the NFL program, a business program where you go to Harvard and then Northwestern for brief periods. And he was lauded for going through the NFL offseason business program because this is a smart guy. He's got high intelligence, Richie Incognito. And he was voted by the South Florida chapter of the Pro Football Writers the Good Guy Award for being the easiest, making the media's job the easiest. You know how you always vote for the one guy in the locker room who's best to the media? There's some con artist here. That's what I'm saying, because then we know what started to unwind at Miami. Do we remember that he sexually harassed and humiliated a female volunteer at the Dolphins' annual charity golf tournament? Do we remember that?
Yeah. What
What an ugly eyesore of an incident that was for the Dolphins. That was in 2012. So he's making the Pro Bowl, and they're saying, well, he's worth it. We got to hang in there with him. And then we know what the bullying thing was.
Yeah.